Bright Suns, I'm the Bat2 Bookworm, and this is my Clocky Monkey Lizard Boots. And this is my review of Out of the Shadows by Justina Ireland. Let's get this review started. Punch it, Boots! Out of the Shadows is a second young adult novel in the High Republic series. It deals with the aftermath of the Valley disaster. This book has the most background reading out of all of them so far. Into the Dark and A Test of Courage are both very much connected to this book, and are recommended reads if you want to get the full story of this book, although they are not necessary to understand what is going on. The Rising Storm is also connected with it, and there are quite a few mentions to the events that happen in that book. Light of the Jedi isn't directly connected to Out of the Shadows, but it is connected to Rising Storm, so that would also be a good book to read. None of these are necessary, but they definitely help you understand the bigger picture. Also, there will be kind of spoilers from the first wave of High Republic books, so if you haven't read those, then maybe don't watch this. This book has recurring characters from both Into the Dark and Test of Courage, as well as some new characters. Vernestra Rwoh is the main character of this book. She's a very young Jedi who's still trying to figure things out while teaching her Padawan, Imri Kantaros, who is also struggling with controlling his strong, empathetic force powers. The other main character, Sylvester Yarrow, or Syl, is a newcomer to the High Republic who has to untangle her complicated past. Cohmac Victus and his Padawan Reath Silas from Into the Dark are a big part of this book as well. And lastly, we have Jordana Sparkburn, a San Tekka who has a history with Syl. When I read Test of Courage, I really did not like Vernestra. She seemed overpowered and unrealistic, but I liked her a lot more in this book. She's more relatable and flawed. It was actually Race to Crushpoint Tower that made me like her more. The way she acted in that book and the way Luna felt towards her made me realize that maybe she wasn't as bad as I'd first thought. And then in this book, she grew as a character a lot more. It is especially interesting to watch her with Imri. She seems way too young and inexperienced to have a Padawan, and many other people think that too. But she felt like she needed to take him on after the events of A Test of Courage. Their Padawan-Master relationship is pretty unique, since Vernestra is only a couple years older than he is and still trying to fill that role of all-knowing master, instead of just being his friend. Syl almost gets attacked by the Nile at the beginning of this book, but when she tries to bring this to the Republic's attention, they don't care at all. It's only when she gets caught up in a feud between two important families, the San Tekkas and the Grafs, about this very same area of space, that anyone pays any attention to her. Because of this, she ends up being the one to go investigate, along with Vernestra and the rest of the group. That piece of space ends up being more important than any of them could have guessed. If it hadn't been for the feud, they probably wouldn't have even found that out until it was too late, even though she had notified the Republic that there was some sort of Nile anomaly out there. You would think that they would at least send a ship out there to check it off the list and be done with it, especially since it was potentially a Nile threat. The first wave of High Republic books was about the Great Disaster and dealing with the aftermath of that. This wave is about Valo and the Nile attack there. The past two books focused on the actual fair and what happened there. This book focuses more on what happens after the fair. The attempts to find the Nile have become more and more desperate, and the people around the galaxy are terrified that their planet might be next. In this book, the Nile don't outright attack much. The main way they do it is a lot sneaker than in the past, and very interesting. Nan, a young Nile girl who was previously in Into the Dark, is one of the main Nile in this book. We don't see the Tempest Runners or Marchion Rwoh much, since the story is more focused on a different side of the Nile. Mary San Tekka, the Nile's oracle, is a big part of this story. She provides the Nile with the paths that they need to be able to navigate hyperspace like no one else can. Some big things happen with her in this book, and we also get to learn a lot more about her. The end of this book kind of fell short for me. Seemed like it was rushed, and the ending seemed like it could have been better. About 3/4 of the way through, it didn't really seem like you'd be able to finish up nicely in time. Some books like that wrap up really nicely by the end, but this one didn't really wrap up as well as it could have. I'm going to give this book a 4 out of 5 and a thumbs up from Boots. It was a good book, but the ending just felt unfinished. I probably would have given it a 3.5 if it hadn't been for Vernestra. I didn't really think I would ever like her, but this book has made her into a really good character. Even though it wasn't my favorite book, I would still recommend this book. The overall story is really good, and it is a very important High Republic story. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this review, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. If you read this book, tell me what you thought about it in the comments. Or if you have a different Stars book you would like me to review, leave a comment down below and I might make a video about it sometime soon. Justina will see you next time, and until then, may the books be with you.